HR issues can kill you. One complaint against your company can turn your world upside down. And you spend way too much time dealing with HR when you should be spending your time on making a profit. You should talk to Bambi. With Bambi, get access to your own dedicated US-based HR manager starting at just $99 per month. They get to know you and your business while providing HR expertise and the personal touch you need and want. They're available by phone, email, and real-time chat, so onboarding and terminations run smoothly. Team members reach peak performance, and your business stays compliant with changing HR regulations. And with Bambi's HR Autopilot, you'll automate important HR practices like setting policies, training, and feedback. HR managers can easily cost $80,000 a year, but Bambi starts at $99 per month. Schedule your free conversation today to see how much Bambi can take off your plate. Go to Bambi.com right now and type in Accelerate under podcast when you sign up. It'll really help the show. Spelled BAM, BEE.com. Bambi.com. Type in Accelerate.
Me, but also you. The Pharaoh fast forwards his favorite foreign film, Powder Donut. Okay, what's my line?
The only line I see here on the script is get options based on your budget with the Name Your Price tool from Progressive.
Oh man, that's a tongue twister, huh? I'm sorry, I'm gonna need a few more minutes. Bulbous Walrus, the Bulbous Walrus.
The Name Your Price tool, only from Progressive.
The owl ran afoul of the comatose coxswain.
Progressive Casualty Insurance Company and affiliates. Price and coverage match limited by state law.
Welcome to Accelerate Your Business Growth with your host, Diane Helbig. Diane is a leading small business development and leadership coach, author, and speaker who is passionate about sharing valuable ideas, tips, and techniques with business professionals worldwide. Diane brings you the world's experts and gurus in all things business, whether it's sales, structure, social media, planning, or plateauing. Guests bring their expertise and energy to each episode. When growing your business is your focus, Accelerate Your Business Growth is the show to listen to. Got a topic or guest suggestion? Let Diane know. The goal is to make sure you have the information you need to move your business forward. Thanks for joining us. Settle in and enjoy.
Hi, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. Today's podcast is sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken audio entertainment and information. Listen to audiobooks whenever and wherever you want. Get a free book when you sign up for a 30-day free trial at audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast continues to enjoy inclusion on lists of the best podcasts to listen to, and has really turned into a great resource for small business owners, entrepreneurs, sales professionals, all those folks out there in the business world wanting to be more successful and do greater things. This is really because of the guests who have joined me over the years. These are folks with expertise in various areas of business, and they give of their time and that expertise for all of you. Today I have such a person as a guest. My guest is Cokie Berenyi. Cokie is the founder of Alphavest, has been providing financial guidance to clients since 1996, is a 40 under 40 and Woman CEO of the Year recipient. Her latest book, Perfect Day, inspires and equips business leaders to achieve a healthy work-life balance that unlocks their full potential. Her 20-plus years advising clients and her experiences as an entrepreneur provide numerous stories that illustrate the effectiveness of her holistic approach toward having perfect days. Thanks so much for joining me today, Cokie.
Diane, so glad to be here. Thank you for having me. My favorite thing to do is talk perfect day message.
Fabulous, because I love to hear about perfect days. So, because we all want to live them. will you talk some about why it is that having a healthy work-life balance is really important for a business's success?
Sure. Well, and I would answer that almost in reverse, if that makes any sense, is that, maybe I'll phrase this from the perspective of the entrepreneur or the business owner, if that's what makes sense, is
Sure.
that I really think it's more about the success of the person, which then drives the success of the business. And so I try to flip that around for my clients and my listeners. And I have adopted something from one of my mentors called a life-driven business model, which is sort of turns, what you've said, like, why is it so important for business success? I think we should start with, let's have personal success first, and then let the business success come later. And so, why do I think it's important? I mean, I just think it's important because in a world that's filled with so much fear, fear and scarcity and really perfectionism. Yes, I said it, perfectionism. Days are not perfect. And, I find it so interesting right now that we are in the greatest economic boom in history, the longest bull market on the stock market in history. And yet I'm not sure that's matching with the attitudes and the just the feeling I'm getting from the people at large. And I don't know if you agree with me with that or not. It just seems to me like there's a disconnect, and I wonder why that is. And so, I would want to answer your question from, solving the work-life balance from the life perspective first, and then letting the work balance flow from there.
So I really like that because it's really that your business can't be successful if you aren't in harmony, balance, whatever you want to call it, because then you can't really give it what it needs. And it doesn't need, like, I'm not thinking, okay, you have to give it everything you've got, because I don't think then you're terribly balanced, but your business needs certain things. You as a human need certain things. Your family, the people you're connected to need certain things. And so I get it that if we aren't, it's like they say, moms should be taking care of themselves first, because otherwise they can't really take care of their kids, right? It's that
Precisely.
sort of thing.
Precisely.
Yeah.
And our business should be our kid versus a manifestation of our own self-worth, which, happens with me all the time. It happens with all entrepreneurs, really. And, I had this huge aha moment, and I've seen it with many, many clients over the last 2 decades. But my big aha moment came in 2010 when I recognized that my family was getting my leftovers. So that's a term I talk about a lot, is, who's getting your leftovers?
Yeah.
And it was until I was brave enough to really walk my talk and really take a leap of faith and create a life-driven business model and not having a business-driven life model. I hope you see the difference.
Sure do.
Was that I quit giving my family the leftovers. They came first. And what followed was 25% year-over-year growth for 3 or 4 years running. So I've done it, I've lived it, and it's a better way to live. And I wanted to maybe add on to something you said previously, which is, of course you can have a successful business when you're not a whole person. I think it happens all the time. But the question is, do you really want that? I mean,
right.
Who wants to wake up at 55, who's been striving to like roll this boulder up a hill called your business and just killing yourself for it, giving everybody your leftovers, all for this notion of retirement, and A, have a heart attack, B, your wife leaves you, or C, you or your children end up in rehab. I mean,
Right.
where's the fruit in that? And so many entrepreneurs have all those scenarios. And if that's what you want, you can have a successful business that way. But I think we should go sort of the way of the Europeans, which is let's have siestas in the middle of the day, and let's love our families, and let's go on long vacations. And yeah, oh, by the way, there's a shop that we need to go reopen at 2:30 in the afternoon, and we'll close back down at 5:30, and then we'll start all over again the next day. It's more of a focus on family and values and fun and travel and family.
Yeah. So, all right. So this is interesting to me because I don't know why, and maybe you do, this country has never adopted that sort of work philosophy. Because you find that this problem of not really having work-life balance is more American, or
I don't think it's altogether fair to say that, but I think that whenever I use that example of what Europe looks like in the months of June, July, and August, I think people get it, because that's not what it looks like here in the States.
Yeah.
There was, and I wrote about this in Perfect Day, there was one company that actually instituted no email Friday. I love that. I love that. So I can't really answer the question other than from, my background is in finance and investments. And so I have enough economic education and experience to be dangerous. But I think that if you look at the business cycle or the economic cycle of Europe versus that of the United States, they say that they're about 10 years behind. And so I'm wondering if in 10 years we would see a change in Europe. And I hope not.
Yeah, no kidding. I
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I love I've always loved this whole idea of taking a break in the afternoon, because I think most people really need to recharge. And it's so good for your spirit to just stop and take a moment, and we just drive.
Right.
And right. And I think sometimes we're driving through fog because we're not really in our best place.
No question about it.
Yeah.
No question about it is that, perception is not always reality. And, you have to sometimes check yourself in the mirror and say, well, what are my clients going to think when they see me running the bridge at noon on a day when the market's off 400 points? I mean, am I going to be better for them for having run or not having run?
Right.
I think we all know the answer to that one.
We sure do. And I think we're learning so much more about our physical being and how it thrives and the things that it needs. I do a lot of trainings, and I was in a training for trainers, and they said, have your attendees stand up every couple, whatever, because it takes oxygen to the brain. It just shoots oxygen to the brain. They're going to learn so much more. But, this is how adults learn, kind of thing. And I thought, wow, that is fascinating. And you can see it once someone says it. It makes perfect sense.
So I'm going to put this out there to you in the world. You've inspired me with that.
Okay.
My last Perfect Day workshop, I had the idea in my head, but it was at the 11th hour and I wasn't brave enough to do it. But last summer, a client challenged me to 30 days of planks in odd places. And so for 30 straight days, I would plank for 3 minutes in a crazy place. And at this last workshop, I thought to myself, you know what? I'm going to make everyone get on the floor and plank. We don't have to do it for 3 minutes, but just a 30-second to a 1 minute. Everyone gets on the floor, like ladies in dresses, you can point towards the wall. But so I'm going to do a version of that next go.
Great.
Yeah.
That's great.
Yeah.
Yeah. Hey, listen, I've been at conferences where they've had everybody stand up and do yoga poses in the middle of just because it so centers you and invigorates you. And I've been at other ones where we've exercised in the middle.
I love it. It's a great pattern interrupt.
Yes, exactly.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
It's like hitting the reset button.
Oh, yes. That's one of my favorite phrases.
Is it really?
Yes.
Oh, that's so great. Okay, so now talk to me some about why it is that entrepreneurs have such a hard time with this whole concept of balance.
I think by nature, most entrepreneurs, or the best of us, are pretty type A in nature. And for the most part, that puts us out there in a place where, and I don't know, I'd love your feedback. You know, it puts us out there in a place where we're visionaries and we love ideation, and we get supercharged by exciting things, and we get enthusiastic, and then we squirrel, and we run from, you know, one great fun thing to the next. And so, you know, that doesn't breed balance.
No.
That would be my quick and dirty answer. I don't know what your experience is.
I think there's a lot of that. I definitely think most entrepreneurs are A-type. I think also that.
And by the way, that's where I got LDD. I took it from my ADD. Lifestyle deficit disorder is something I talk about in the book. But I got it because most entrepreneurs have ADD, and it doesn't need to be a negative. It doesn't need to have a negative connotation. I embrace mine and love it. So I'm sorry. With that, I interrupted you.
No, that's okay. I mean, I agree with you. It's so funny. I can't tell you how many people say to me, well, you know what? I think I have ADD. And I just look at them and I go, okay, we all do.
Yeah,
no
course.
kidding. It's
like,
the
yay,
nature
you're the
of
lucky one.
Yeah, right. Now, let's harness that just a little bit so that we can be a little more, right. So, yeah, I think part of it is, for some entrepreneurs, I think they think the expectation is that they are supposed to be heads down working as much as possible. I think a lot of entrepreneurs have this idea that other people expect them to have all the answers and be working a lot. And so even though if they looked at it, they'd realize they're probably not really productive, and they've left out, right, their life. I think they just sort of do this, I gotta nose to the grindstone until I get to, you know, whatever it is that they've been going after. I don't know.
Yeah, spinning wheels in productivity are two very different things. And so, you know, I would add to that, and I love in the works that I've read by you, it seems I have to see this theme of actionable steps, right?
Yeah.
And one of the actionable things I give to and love to share with people about perfect days is that of doing something brave every day makes a perfect day. Like, I don't like micromanaging for people what makes their perfect days, but the framework and the tool that I give people, which is 411, doing the 4 things that are going to make a perfect day before 11 a.m. The 2 pieces of specific framework I try to give around that is, one needs to be around contribution or a random act of kindness, and the other needs to be something that's brave. You know, no rules on that. And the reason why I bring that up is that my bravest, most productive things that I do for my business happen in the middle of a run or happen on a mountain. The bravest things are when I'm inspired to make that next best connection or commit to something and make myself accountable to something that is going to get my business to the next level. Never happens in the walls of my office. And so, you know, for that for others is this idea of like nose to the grindstone, moving, shuffling paper around and piles around. That's not productivity. That's just spinning wheels and feeling feeding the monster within us that lies to you, that says, oh yeah, you're being productive because you're within the four walls of your office between 9 and 5. And, that's just not what perfect days are made about for the business owner or the non-business owner.
Yeah, right.
And
right, for anybody.
Yeah. And, Diane, there's this thing about balance too. And I think for your entrepreneurial listeners, I would encourage them not to strive for balance. And that's sort of what that 411 framework is all about. Is that 411 framework is like, get your shit done before 11. That's for you. Get your perfect day groove on and get it done by 11. And then that's your focus and your imbalance for that part of your day. And then move on to the rest of your day and let the world have you. Let those phone calls come in, let the emails come in, sort of float through your day, get through your to-do list. And that's the imbalance part of that latter half of the day. So
Boy, I got to tell you how much I love that.
Oh, good.
Love it. For so many reasons. Oh my gosh. It's so focused. I like structure, so it's somewhat structured because it's by 11. I guess is what I'm saying. As far as people doing it their own way, yeah, I'm all about that too. But and then you're just open to meeting your day where it is and as it comes to you, which I think is so less stressful than feeling like you're constantly being interrupted and can't get to the things that you want to get to.
They're already done. Yeah.
Oh.
And so it should be said. It's the imperfection in a perfect day. It's the imbalance in a balanced day. And, real life story, this happened to me. I love giving this example because it resonates with most. And I'm sure I have more, but I was doing a perfect day workshop in Atlanta, and the next day, my flight wasn't until like maybe 2 or so. And, I'm 411 in it. I'm 411 warrioring, whether I'm, in my zip code or not. And I 411 on the side of mountains, by the way, too, because it's possible. It is.
Yeah, right.
And I 411'd it, and I got my 4 things done. I was brave. I did a random act of kindness. I made some forward momentum with, my finances. And then I did something else, which, I got my 4 things done. And then guess what? My flight got canceled at 2.
Ooh.
Now, normally, my flight getting canceled would have ruined my day. Not perfect day, but there's the mindset. No. I've already had a perfect day. My flight got canceled. Oh, who cares? I've already had a perfect day. So I don't know if that resonates with you, but that was a real life me experience, that it really just shifts your mindset of when life pushes on you and life happens. It's like, oh, that doesn't matter because I've already had a perfect day. I was in control of creating my perfect day rather than wanting to experience a perfect day. And there's a huge difference in that. Creating a perfect day versus experiencing a perfect day. Experiencing one would have been great. The plane was on time. I got to sit next to Brad Pitt in first class. Not true. Those experiences would make for a perfect day, right? But the best of perfect days are ones you create on your own 2 feet.
I'm telling you, I am so embracing this whole concept. I love that. And I can feel the difference between the experience that you had and the experience that you could have had if you hadn't already had your perfect day.
It's a very small shift.
Flight cancellation. Yeah,
very small shift. Well, I have a 411 journal that I'm sending to you. So it's a beta. So I'd love your feedback.
Ooh, right on. Okay,
yes.
Well, I'm happy to participate in that.
Great.
Terrific. Okay. So if someone's listening and they're thinking to themselves, wow, I love this concept. I'm getting it, but I don't even know, what I would do. Where do they start? Like if they're thinking, okay, I want to be more intentional about setting goals in my personal life and my professional life and trying to find this perfect day thing and then this whole balance or, any of this, how do they start? What do they do?
Okay, this is when I come at you with a fire hose. So you're ready?
I guess. Thanks for the warning. Go ahead.
Yeah, and this is the type A ADD entrepreneur. This is my life's message. This is my life's work. Okay. And so I have it out there for the world to consume in so many different modalities, and they're free. So most of them are free anyway. So it just depends on what type of person you are. So I have the Perfect Day e-course. I have it in a free downloadable book version, Perfect Day. So freebook.cokieberenyi.com. I have it in a podcast. A lot of people are Facebook watchers on my Perfect Day Connect Facebook page, where I, incidentally, on Monday and Wednesday mornings, I hope you're sitting, at 5:30 in the morning, I do a 411 live.
What time zone?
East Coast.
Okay.
Which really sucks when I'm in Colorado at my lifestyle because I do it at 3:30 in the morning. But nonetheless, I think there's a lot out there in the form of webinar, books, e-course, Facebook. I have lots of modalities for people to dial in the framework of 411, which is the place to start, is to really understand what is 411 about and what are those four things. Because there's 411 for the layperson, and then there's 411 on steroids, which there really is a framework where I guide even deeper as to what I think those four categories or those four areas of your life you should be looking at every morning before 11 a.m. And I talk about it all over the web on my Facebook page, Perfect Day Connect. So I hope I answered your question.
You did. I pretty much sensed that it was starting with the 411, but I really appreciate that you are putting things out there in a whole lot of different ways because people grab information differently.
Correct.
And so,
yeah, I'm not an e-course learner. I would want to meet like one-on-one with someone like yourself.
Yeah.
Like that's where I learn, and that's where I get my accountability and my best successes. So, I do also do, consultations, but, I think your listeners want to hear more about some of the free tools that are out there so they can, cut their teeth and see, what is this Perfect Day and 411 all about?
Right.
And, if they want more, then, we can give them more, however they need. I'm pretty accessible simply because, like I said, this is my life's message. So this is what I'm just having a blast doing right now in my career.
It's so great.
Thank you.
So, and if there's someone listening who's asking themselves the question, which I'm knowing these listeners, I'm sure there's at least one, who's saying to themselves, you know what, I'll just wait for retirement to focus on my personal life and get that all squared away. What would you say to them?
I would say hope is not a strategy. That is what I would say to them. And I would also say my goal for my clients is to never retire them. Because you mentioned the term earlier in the podcast of reset. Yeah. When my clients come to me and say, oh, I've had a really good couple years in my business, Cokie, and I really want to get out, and, I'm looking forward to retiring, and inevitably, I'll give you the real example of Bob. That wasn't his name, but, Bob says this to me, and I say, oh my, Bob, that's fantastic. What are you going to do? And Bob says, oh my gosh, I'm going to play golf. I can't wait. And I say, oh, that's awesome. What's your handicap? And Bob says, I don't play golf. And I'm like, the hell are you talking about? You want to retire so you can play golf, and you don't even know if you like golf. What's going on here? And so what's going on is that Bob's and the Janes, because the Janes are out there too, are tired. They're tired and they need a reset. And, when you put retirement in the framework of your reset, you're going to fail because you can only play golf or most of the Janes say to me, I just want to go to the beach. It's like, you can only hang out at the beach with an umbrella and a cocktail for so long before the true entrepreneur says, I'm ready to get back at it. So, long-winded answer to A, most of them really don't want to retire. And B, for those who really do want to retire, you don't want to show up into retirement, and I can't count on two hands. I cannot count on both my hands. It makes me even a little of a climp, if you can hear it. I cannot even count on two hands how many people I know have strived for retirement and then fall short. Either, a husband at 42 passes away, or cancer, heart attack, rehab. They have these visions of, like I mentioned earlier, wanting to retire and travel the world with your family and your children and your spouse. Well, do you even have a relationship with your spouse and your children? Boy. And so, I would say you can't wait. You gotta focus on your values and what's most important today, and let the business follow, because it really will. If it's something you're passionate about and you design it around, around this life-driven business model I mentioned, the riches will come. And when I say riches, I really mean in all aspects of it.
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
It's a woo-woo concept. I get it.
Yeah, I get it. But I love it.
Listeners are going to go, oh, that sounds real great, Cokie. But first of all, they get it, and they've heard it from me, and it's funny because I do the same thing. I'll go, okay, I know this is really woo-woo. I'm just telling you it works. I don't know why it does, and I don't need to know why. I am telling you, like, it's a universal truth.
What I say is, it really is.
Yep,
it absolutely is. And some things are a leap of faith, but whatever you're doing is not working for you, so why not? What have you got to lose?
Right.
Yep. I'm going to take a quick sponsor break, and then I have some more questions for you.
Fantastic.
Accelerate Your Business Growth podcast is happy to be sponsored by Audible.com. Audible.com is a leading provider of spoken digital audio entertainment and information. They have over 150,000 titles to choose from, and you can listen to them on any device, including whatever you're hearing us on right now. And if you sign up at our link, which is audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, you get one free audiobook and a 1-month trial of the service. Some examples of books you can listen to on audible.com are Transform Your Company by Alex Vorobieff and The Irresistible Consultant's Guide to Winning Clients by David A. Fields, both of whom have been guests on this podcast. So visit audibletrial.com/businessgrowth, explore the books that are of interest to you, and receive one free audiobook when you sign up for the trial. Today we're speaking with Cokie Berenyi about the importance of work-life balance for entrepreneurs. So before we went on the sponsor break, we were talking about riches and in so many different ways. And I'm curious about the concept of a person's true wealth. What is that all about?
So I have to give credit to Lee Brower, who wrote the foreword to A Perfect Day and has also been a mentor for mine for, I'd say, 10 to 15 years. And Lee coined and trademarked the term true wealth. And he has a true wealth program in ambassadorship whereby he has trained many of us in the planning field to embrace and teach this concept to the world at large. And the true wealth concept really embodies this idea of taking an inventory of all of your assets, not just your financial assets. So earlier we spoke about riches and about how all of the riches will come. That's sort of what I mean, is that, your riches are not just financial in nature. And part of my planning process that I take clients through, which is a derivative of what Lee Brower has given me through the True Wealth Ambassadorship, is taking them through, it's the Perfect Day process, an asset inventory of what really are your riches? What are your assets? And so true wealth really embodies this idea of embracing the fact that perhaps our core assets or our experience assets are more valuable to us than our financial assets. And I can tell you, when you go through the process, the perfect day planning process, you're going to find that's true in the end. And I love the aha moment, because when I tell people that, they're like, oh no, surely not. Surely, the 3 million in the bank and my business valuation of 15 million, surely that's more important. But, when you find yourself in a hospital bed dying, I mean, ask Steve Jobs.
Right.
What was his
That's
greatest,
what I keep thinking about as you're talking about this.
Yeah, what was his greatest asset? When he passed away, I can tell you it was not his checkbook.
Yeah.
And so it was, the idea of his family and his health, his experiences. Yeah. So it's about that switch, and that switch is one that can happen super, super easily, or it can be one you put your heels in the ground and you'll never get it. So it just depends on when one is ready, really.
Yeah.
To embrace this idea of, I'm tired of being on this never-ending hamster wheel. I'm tired of the spinning, and there's got to be a different way, because the spinning 9 times out of 10 is towards the financial assets, towards that part of a person's true wealth, and that's only a quarter of it.
Right.
There's other aspects, and so if people would only get on that hamster wheel and start spinning for their family values, or start spinning for their family's experiences or their own experiences, we'd have a lot happier people walking the streets and a lot more thriving businesses, to be sure.
Yeah, for sure. Okay, so you said something about the financial assets are only a quarter of their total assets. So what types of assets should they be putting on their, so to speak?
Well, so you're going to be giving away the secret sauce.
Oh, no.
But I'm happy to do it. Let's do it. Because it doesn't necessarily make sense, but the way I try to walk people through the process is to say, take an inventory of your assets. And it's a really interesting exercise, because you say, take an inventory of all of your assets, no rules. And invariably someone in the crowd is always like, define an asset.
Yeah.
No definition. Whatever an asset is to you, you start by writing down a list of 20. And what's also another aha is doing a list of 20 of your assets, your most valued assets. People think, oh, that's easy. Give it a try.
Yeah.
You'd be surprised. And so I say that to listeners to say, don't beat yourself up, because this perfect day process and like getting towards this place of true wealth is never about guilt or shame. Never about that. So when you hit 12 and you're like, I don't know what else I have. Don't worry about it, but keep pressing on. So take an asset inventory. And then the next step is to see, what assets have you written down the most? Are they mostly financial in nature? And so here's what I'll give you the 4. The 4 types of assets, and again, this comes from Lee Brower, and you can see this in both his book, The Brower Quadrant, and or mine, where he's written the foreword, which is Perfect Day. The 4 types of assets are core assets, which is who you are, your values, your health, your family, your beliefs, your faith. We've already mentioned financial assets. That's the easiest to sort of envision. Then we have experience assets. It's pretty self-explanatory. And then the last asset category, which I will share with you and your listeners 100% of the time when I take people through this process, and I love sharing this because this goes back to that guilt and shame piece, 100% of the time, the category that has the least amount of assets have been written down are clients' contribution assets. So it's how do you give back? How are you consistently making this world a better place for tomorrow than how you found it yesterday.
Wow.
And it's not to say that my clients aren't philanthropic, because it's almost a requisite for me to spend time with you. You know, it's you've got to be, you just have to have that on your heart. Yeah. It's not to say my clients aren't philanthropic, but when people sit down and do an asset inventory, and I'm sure at this point you can kind of get why it's kind of an aha process of like, why I don't exactly explain what the types of assets are, because now the listeners can hear what the assets are. And so it gives them this pause of like, oh yeah, I get it. All my experiences, all my contribution assets, all my core assets. But contribution assets 100% of the time, when I take people through this process, is the category that has the least assets in it for every single person. And I don't ever like saying absolutes, but it's 100% true 100% of the time. Wow. And so I say that so that people don't feel like, oh my gosh, I'm a terrible person. I don't give back enough. None of us do. Yeah. So, and it also gives pause for this idea of where we all need to step up more in our lives in order to achieve true wealth, in order to achieve more perfect days, in order to achieve balance in our assets.
Oh, so right. So it's, as you said, it's not about shame or guilt. It's about reality. It's about identifying where we really are, so then we can make effective decisions about how we're moving forward.
I mean, there's very few business people out there who say, oh, you know, I need a reset. I want to retire. So, you know, one of the first things I need to do is find out how I need to give back to the world today. I mean, that's usually not the first go-to. Yeah. But the point is those 4 categories we just talked about, that's the 411 framework. So if you can wake up every morning and decide, what am I going to do in these 4 areas of my life that takes 10 minutes? I mean, these 4 tasks shouldn't take you an hour. You know, the 4 things should be momentum towards a future goal. So what 4 things can you do in those 4 categories we just talked about that is going to get you closer towards a perfect day or a true wealth vision?
Okay. All right. That's really valuable.
Great.
It's really valuable. So they don't, so if people are listening and thinking, okay, wait a minute, that feels like a total reset, like a total change. That isn't necessarily what you're saying. What you're saying is start implementing small things every day that build toward you having that perfect day. Is that how I'm hearing that?
I mean, you know, okay, so let's start with the contribution place, bucket, you know. Okay, so you've done your 20 assets and you see there's nothing on there. Well, one step towards a perfect day vision is, well, you need to fill that bucket. So how do you want to do that? Well, I mean, I've had many clients say to me, I'd really like to start a family foundation. That's something I get pretty often. I want to start a family foundation so that I can park money in it. I can be charitable. I can get tax deductions, but I'm not like concerned about the vetting of where it's going, because there's so many nonprofits out there. And I'd really like my kids to have an active role in rolling up their sleeves and deciding, where's this money going? So what actionable step are you going to take tomorrow in order to start that ball rolling? Well, there's a lot of things that goes into starting a family foundation. And so, you know, each day you just need to send an email, take 10 minutes, write what your idea and your vision is. Take 10 minutes and text your children and say, we're having a meeting at dinner on Friday night and I want to share something with you. Right. You know, it's just little things towards the end that you have in mind in those 4 areas of your life.
Got it. That's great. And thanks for that example, because I think that helps really paint a picture of really what you're talking about.
And, you know, 9 times out of 10 also with the other asset categories. And I like to highlight this because I've had, being in financial services and investments, my clients are often fairly wealthy, and sometimes their perfect days can involve opining after shiny baubles, I like to call them. And, planes and houses and what have you. You can, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
But really, what I've found in this concept of true wealth and in this concept of creating more perfect days in your life, if you go back to that asset inventory, the inventory that you wrote down all your assets, there's assets on that page that you want more of. And, 9 times out of 10, it's usually not, oh, I love my house and I want more houses.
Yeah.
It may be, around your health, for example. I'd like to be more fit, or I'd like to lower my blood pressure, or I'd like to go off all my meds, or, whatever.
Yeah.
So usually it's something you already have. So when we also lead into the exercise by saying, start with gratitude.
Definitely.
For those who didn't believe me, but did come up short on coming up with 20 assets on your asset inventory, take a step back and make a list of 10 things you're grateful for.
Yeah.
And if you look at that list of what you're grateful for, embedded in that list are your greatest assets.
Yeah, right.
And so when you're grateful for your health, it's like, well, let's make more of that. Let's improve upon that. So I encourage people when they're creating their perfect days and they're creating these 4 things that they're really aiming for within their asset structure. It's usually something they already have. It's something you want to make better. So it's not, the private jet that you don't have. Oh, I want to put that on my, I want that on my asset inventory. That's what I want to shoot for tomorrow. That's really not how this is working. I mean, it's all great for Warren Buffett and net jets and all that. You want a jet, get yourself a jet. But typically, and I hope that doesn't confuse listeners. I
think that's great.
To not, aspire after the shiny baubles that you don't have. Yeah. Really improving upon the assets that you currently do have is a great place to start for a fulfilling perfect day vision and a fulfilling path of true wealth.
Okay, so is there like a stage in someone's career where they should be evaluating the work-life balance, or is it at any point or is it something they should be doing consistently, periodically? If they get to a certain point where they should go, okay, wait, now I need to evaluate.
Great question. And I have asked this question a good bit on Perfect Day Podcast to listener or to my interviewees about lifestyle deficit disorder. And I asked them the question, do you think it's avoidable? And what lifestyle deficit disorder is just staying on that hamster wheel and being completely out of balance, right? Yeah. And, unfortunately, consistently, the answer I get from my interviewees is that LDD is not avoidable. Lifestyle deficit disorder is not avoidable in the early stages of an entrepreneur's life. And as is often true in my life, I always like to turn everything on its ear and not accept the norm or what people say. And I'd really like to think that that's not true, but I do have to just really lay down and concede that in the early stages of a brand new business, you really do have to accept that things are going to be out of balance. And you can imperfectly balance that. So, if you're going to work your ass off, 6 days a week, you need to tell your loved ones or whoever's important to you when you're going to see them and why your nose is to the grindstone and how you're going to make it up to them. And you just got to hope and pray that's a good plan and that's a good strategy for your life, and that you don't get sucked in and stay there forever. But I will concede that that's a really hard time to try and implement a work-life balance. But I will tell you, it's the most fertile ground for adopting early on this concept of a life-driven business model, because it is so hard 3 years into your business to try and then make that switch.
Yeah, right.
And so if you can try and put your non-negotiables up front on the table early, which non-negotiables are, I don't want to give my family my leftovers. I'm not going to sit at a desk 9 to 5. I am not going to come home at 9 o'clock at night. I'm not going to work on Saturdays. Whatever your non-negotiables are, it's really cool to be able to lay those out early and like set out what's your life plan and build your business around that.
Yeah.
First,
right.
And are you going to fall off the wagon? Yes, you are. But at least you have your framework and your vision of what you want it to look like. Try and implement it out the gate, and then work towards a more perfect execution of it. But, really answer that question, the best time to focus on it is day one out of the gate. You just got to give yourself permission to fail, in that balance category. But, once you're 3 to 4 years in, if you feel you're still suffering, then you absolutely need to heavily evaluate, what may be wrong in your execution within your business, or your revenue structure.
Right.
And I would offer it's delegation. So, us entrepreneurs.
Here's a hint. Right.
Yeah. Did you get that? Delegation. Yes, us entrepreneurs, tend to adopt this, rugged individualist approach.
Yeah.
And I can do it. It's just easier for me to do it myself. And, that's the biggest, what would the term be? This is the biggest reason for lifestyle deficit disorder, or LDD.
Yeah. I see that all the time. I completely agree with that. I see it all the time. And it's because of what you said. People think it's just easier for me to do it myself, or they think, well, no one else is going to do it the way that I do it. And they're right. They're not. Who cares? As long as they do it, they don't have to do it the way you do it.
Give them your non-negotiables. Yeah, give them your non-negotiables. Here's what you need to do. Don't kill any women or unarmed soldiers along the way. Bam. Yes.
Yeah. Now go. Right. Yeah.
I love the title of your book, Lemonade Stand Selling. I love this because that's the title of your book, yes?
Yes. Tell me, why do you love that?
Well, because like I said, I 411 wherever I am, and I just 411'd on the side of Denali about a month ago. And one of the things I riffed about which is just, I'm either talking into my phone or I'm writing, memos in the tent at night of just things that come to my mind. Yeah. And one of the things was this list, these lists of that the entrepreneurs and our clients have that are like really bogging them down. And it's hilarious how really underwhelming these lists are, right? Yeah. And if they just write them down, like what's frustrating you the most, which is causing you to take leftovers home to your favorite people, don't do that. It's like, make the list and what is it? And like start tackling it, right? And one of the things, one of the rants I went off on was, I don't want to hear you don't have the money. I don't want to hear you can't hire the COO, or I don't want to hear that you can't hire another person to handle, some of these things that may be frustrations. It's like, get your granddaughter or get your nieces or your nephews or one of your children and put them on the street and start a lemonade stand. Like seriously, like if you cannot find an extra, $2,500 in your budget every month or $500, whatever the number may be, it's like start a lemonade stand and quit your whining. Like, I remember in 1978, on Meeting Street, downtown Charleston, making like $130 at a lemonade stand. Do the inflation adjusted number on that. Seriously. So like, I don't want the excuses. It's like, get the frustration list. If you've got to throw a little bit of money at it, throw some money at it and move on.
Yeah. Right. Well, then people are their own impediment, right? They're just getting in their own way because they won't do the things that they need to do in order to be able to solve the problems that they need
Yes,
to solve.
it's
So,
the
whole thing.
it's the perfect day squasher, the control monster. Yes.
Yes, exactly. It's just awful. Yeah. And then I always end up going to my Dr. Phil moment, which is, how's that working out for you? Because not so great. Okay, well,
Yeah.
do something about it, right? The good news is, once you're a grown-up, you can make decisions
Correct.
about how your life is. Yep.
Pattern
Absolutely.
interrupt. Do something
Yeah.
different.
Yes, right. Reset. Oh my gosh, I so love this conversation, and it has been sort of rejuvenating for me as well. So I know how valuable it's been for the listeners. And speaking of them, will you tell them how they can access you and your book and all of that great information you were talking about earlier?
Oh gosh, sure. I hope I didn't mention it too much earlier.
No, you just said it once. You're good.
Great. So let's see. Best way to get me. I love engaging with newbies to Perfect Day. And so for those of you who are new to this concept and want to know more about 411, I would really challenge you to do 411 Live on Mondays and Wednesdays at 5:30 in the morning. Yes, 5:30. I do a Facebook Live. It's from my business page, which is Perfect Day Connect. So at Perfect Day Connect. So, you can get a lot of Perfect Day knowledge there. We also have the free book on download at freebook.cokieberenyi.com. And I know coming up in August and September, I have a free webinar, which will give you a little more of a synopsis on going through the process that we talked about today. And you can find that at webinar.cokieberenyi.com.
Oh, fabulous. Okay. Wow. See, guys, tons of ways. I'm going to the Facebook page because I'm up at 5:30 in the mornings.
Oh,
usually.
I can't wait.
So,
I can't wait Monday morning. Diane.
Wait, do you have to see me or do I just get to see you?
No, you get to see me. And I promise you it's always a trip.
Oh, right on.
I
Okay.
promise you,
Right.
it'll really make you feel good about yourself to see what I look like at 5:30.
Fabulous. Wonderful. Oh my gosh, thank you so much. And listeners, thank you. I just know you're getting a ton out of this. Also like to thank our sponsor. Remember, in order to get a free trial of audible.com and a free audiobook when you sign up for that trial, go to audibletrial.com/businessgrowth. Continue to prosper and be curious. And until we meet again on another episode of Accelerate Your Business Growth, goodbye and good day.
Hey friends, this is Jim Knight, former 21-year Hard Rock executive turned best-selling author and top 10 keynote speaker.
And I'm Brant Menswar, former frontman of Hollywood's Most Dangerous Band turned top 10 motivational speaker and best-selling author.
We host the how-to podcast Thoughts That Rock, where we talk to rock stars, athletes, CEOs, astronauts, and even next-door neighbors who share their expertise and opinions. Together, we tackle the most interesting and challenging topics of today.
Whether you want to learn how to become more confident, how to deal with anxiety at work,
or how to write a hit song, or use Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu in life,
we've got hundreds of episodes to help amp up your life and move you forward.
Subscribe to Thoughts That Rock wherever you listen to podcasts, and check out evergreenpodcast.com for more information.